Amy Kouppas is here tonight. Let's just give her a round of applause. You don't know the efforts that have gone into getting Amy here. Imposter syndrome is amongst us now.
I said no a few times.
And we all know she's going to be amazing. So Amy is a Scrum Master, super experienced, and not only that, she can also groom dogs. She tells me now. She is a card-holding dog groomer, apparently. So if you don't think any of this is of any use to you, and you've got a dog, you should still speak to Amy.
Let me know.
But no, I'm not. I'm going to hand over to Amy to finish off introducing herself, because she definitely knows more about herself and her career than me. And she's going to talk about tonight a topic that I know it will resonate with a lot of people in the room, about how leadership roles in general, but particularly Scrum Master roles, can feel a bit lonely sometimes. So please give her a secondary massive round of applause.
Thank you, Royd. So, yeah, I'm going to be speaking about the lonely world of a Scrum Master, and hopefully empowering you guys for the changing landscape that we have. I know the title sounds a bit doom and gloom, but I promise there's some happiness to it as well. So you won't go away crying. You might do. So, a little bit about me. My name is Amy. I know I've got my friend in the audience has once said that I'm like Amy Santiago, which I hope is a compliment in terms of my urge to panic a lot, my love of stationery, but I can't say I love suits or anything, so maybe not that bit. And I also say fab a lot, so it might slip up in this talk. But a little bit about my background. So I nearly was a developer and got a job for a SaaS developer back in the day. I think I can say that still. It was basically, I loved SQL programming, Oracle, business objects. I really thought that was the career for me. But I kind of pivoted a little bit and was a BA in the manufacturing industry. Which was great because you got to see how things were made and see the process, and I loved it and it was great. And then I became a product owner at EMIS, and I know I've got some EMIS peeps in the audience. And I loved that. It really felt like you were making a difference, even though obviously not a doctor, but we still did healthcare, software for healthcare. And then after EMIS, I did a bit in a smaller company, and we did like Sheffield Mental Health, M&D. We worked over the pandemic, actually. And both of those roles, they didn't actually have Scrum Masters in those companies, so I kind of started doing a little bit by bit, and I was like, actually, I'm starting to really enjoy the element of this and coaching and mentoring. And then I've been at Sky, and I absolutely love it at Sky, and the Scrum Master role itself, it really has brought it to light. But that's the boring stuff. The exciting stuff, I'm thinking, there's animals on here, so if you don't like animals, I'm really upset with you. But I have my dog. She's my baby Bella. It's like having a little horse in the house. It's great. So that's Bella. And then my two cats, Pip and Merlin. It's not my lamb, but it is a dream, as my husband, who's in the audience, knows. I also want a mini cow, but that's never going to happen. So, yeah, that's the dream there. That was a farmer's lamb. I didn't kidnap it or anything. And then some of the amazing women that some of are in the audience today. So a big part of what I love is women in tech, diversity and inclusion. It's so dear to my heart, and I'm passionate about it. So, yeah, and I couldn't do it without these group of women in the audience and some of our male allies as well. So those are some of my passions. And then, as Royd said, I am a part-time dog groomer. Started off with Bella because it's like having another dog when you brush her. So I thought, let's just do it, and it's it's good for your well-being. So I love that. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. Okay. So, why am I doing this talk? And I've got a little comic Agile, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with in terms of it's kind of a bit of a a banter, a joke on the Scrum Master to-do list. Some is kind of, I'll get out of the way, a bit of a, not true, but a bit of a, well, can I pick one? Introduce a new colour scheme for stories and tasks in Jira. So we don't just do sticky notes. So, but on a serious note, why am I doing this? Because I know a lot of talks you talk about frameworks or specific roles, and I'm touching upon that, but I think there has been a change in the climate and landscape of Scrum Mastery and Agilist roles, if I can say that as a word. But for me, and I'm going to talk a lot from the heart as well in this talk, so I hope some things resonate with you. I felt a little bit lost in my role, and that's due to organisational culture changes, introduction of different frameworks, and kind of understanding, like, where do I stand as a Scrum Master to what a lot of us are kind of used to or are aware of it with the Scrum Masters we work. I've also felt like a delivery checker sometimes rather than a coach or a mentor to my team. And the wider organisation, because obviously it's not just about your team, it's how you interact with the wider organisation. And then speaking to fellow Scrum Masters, it almost seems that you kind of feel sometimes you're fighting a solo battle to make improvements, kind of talking into the abyss, but more so in the current economic climate. So we can see a lot more scrutiny on the value being added as a Scrum Master. But also just other roles. We know, I'm going to talk real to you, there's tightening budgets, there's redundancies, there's a wobbly job market, and that is just what it's like right now. And I feel, obviously, focusing at the moment on the Scrum Master role, like we're kind of reflecting a bit more about the value we're bringing to this role in terms of it being clearly understood in the companies and teams that we're in. And I'm a very much people-focused person, and it has become less people-focused and more delivery outcome-focused. And yeah, delivery is important and a big part of our role. I'm not saying it's not, but it's become just put on the back burner, I feel, and from the Scrum Masters I've spoken to as well. And I've done a survey to back my thoughts and feelings up and spoken to other Scrum Masters, and I hope to continue this after this talk as well. And I'll be quoting people's actual words throughout the talk, so it's not just me. So I'll do some quotes, and it's going to be a bit raw, but bear with me. So we've got, seen as a Scrum police, no technical knowledge, so not useful. Used as a meeting organiser or glorified administrator as opposed to a coach that can support how the team grows and evolves to their best performance. Disrespect as a professional and for my role. Not feeling respected or protected, we're just fluff masters, we've got it easy. And this is a bit that I thought it's quite, all of this is kind of like, it does touch you, it's upsetting because, it's your career and you try and do the best every day. So questioning what impact I'm truly making as a Scrum Master. I know I'm here to support the team, remove blockers, drive collaboration, but it can feel intangible, especially when the things are running smoothly, which is always a worry, when you think is it too good to be true sometimes with things? There's moments where I wonder, did I actually help today, or would things be different if I wasn't here? It's a strange kind of loneliness. Just kind of want you to think about that bit. People thinking Scrum Masters need to come from code backgrounds, missing the point that soft skills, which I actually think are core skills, I think they're important because it's how, it's the functions of the team, that facilitation and coaching matters just as much. How challenging it is to establish an effective community of practice with other Scrum Masters, constancy and lack of engagement contribution from other Scrum Masters. And I know it's a bit like, but, can be difficult. But think about that. It could be because of all of this stuff that you're trying to do. That kind of can be hard to get that community of practice in your organisations. And then people think all I do is facilitate events. So it's sad, and it did, reading some of these comments when that came through, it didn't fill me with joy. It's your fellow Scrum Masters, and you think, what can we do to make people feel better? We can't be like this, We get into it for a reason, which I will go through. So just a little screenshot, and you can see a bit of a a little scroll through LinkedIn. This was from the other day. There's constant updates to LinkedIn, as I'm sure we're all aware. And basically looking on LinkedIn even, you see discussions and arguments within the community of do's and don'ts on the theory, the role, and not appreciating the reality, basically, that it feels like we need to start having a little bit more empathy with each other and try and get the job done effectively, but that means that it's not always by the book. So, for any Scrum fundamentalists, this talk might not be for you, but, it's some things you have to do that maybe not by the book, but it suits your team, it works for the team, it makes actual kind of improvements and things that you can see that are making people's lives a bit better. Okay, so why lonely? Why the title? So, like I've alluded to, in the last few weeks I've spoken to many Scrum Masters and Agile-based roles, and there's an overriding feeling that I'm hearing. They feel lost, underappreciated, and not listened to. There's a general consensus about roles and responsibilities being watered down, and that the role is just about enforcing processes that are being created by roles far removed from the teams, rather than changing the mindset of everybody involved. And I want to make a point that this talk isn't about methodologies or frameworks or ways of working, so you're not going to see me quoting anything like that. It is something from my experience and from the heart and from my research. Like I said, I've done a survey which I'm feeding through. It's opening about how many Scrum Masters feel in the role, and I'm not trying to solve the problem in this talk. There's further conversations that we need to have, but I'm trying to highlight others' voices and give them a platform to encourage others by opening up and build a community like we're doing very much like today. So in my talk today, I want to empower the Scrum Masters and Agilists to advocate for yourself. I want you to build new connections in this room, because there's a few Scrum Masters in this room as well, and realise that you're not alone in your struggles to navigate our role in the current climate. Scrum Masters, we're seen as facilitators, people-focused, process improvers. We focus on ensuring Scrum ceremonies happen, but teams are living and breathing Scrum principles and values. We remove obstacles from our teams, the organisations. We're servant leaders to our teams. We're improving team and organisational culture. We're seen as change agents who foster collaboration, transparency, inspection, adaptation between team, stakeholders and leadership. But now there's an increase, like I said, in delivery, which I'm not saying is a new concept or something that is bad, because we need to do it in our role. But in today's landscape, it seems that the people-focused empowerment of people, self-organisations and individuals and teams are being pushed aside. And all that matters is planning a quarter full of work and making sure a project's delivered. That's it. And it's sad to see this. From looking at the survey, which I'll go through at the end, there's a perception from some management, and some teams that, and I'm going to quote now, management's opposing strategy, inhibiting agility via command and control, organisational inertia, office politics and culture, end quote. So the Scrum Masters are getting, and I'm quoting again, frustrated with lack of real change, end quote. And we want to use the skills that we are good at to make the changes needed to make teams great. That is why we do and love this role. However, the reality is all of this. I've popped the definition of a Scrum Master from scrum.org. I'm not going to read it to you. It's just to refresh ourselves. Also, some white papers that many of you have probably read and seen around the Scrum Master stances, 8, and then it's also been modified to 6 by Barry Overeem. So that was just a FYI for any research you want to do, maybe after this talk as well. And you've noticed that I've highlighted some words, and there's a reason that I've done that. So these are words that I believe mean a lot to me, but also others as Scrum Masters. So helping everyone, that's why we've got into this role. We want to help. Effectiveness, improving, ensuring and empowering people in our teams, and organisations to think differently. And I know a lot of my teams like to, I call this trial and error. Like literally, let's trial and error it. It might not be by the book, which is why I've got a little comic book at the top left. But if it works and it makes a difference, God, let's do it, you know. let's see what we can do and be better than we were yesterday. Enabling. So we're enabling other people to do all of what I've said by creating champions within our teams, being the silent cheerleader to say, you've got this. We serve, which is keeping the trait of a servant leader true to its form. And I haven't highlighted leaders, but I've highlighted true. And for me, that means we're true to the people in our team. We're true to the potential that we see and true with our intentions to help our teams. This is what we should try and do. But are we empowered enough in our roles to do this? Or is there a common conception that, and I'm going to quote again from the survey, we're seen as Scrum police, no technical knowledge, Scrum Masters being treated like a catch for all issues. I find that in large organisations, it's difficult to institute pattern changes. Many people seem to keep repeating the same actions that lead to very things that they complain about, without leadership pushing for it. It's difficult to convince people to change or improve their processes or remove them. People tend to fixate on the artifacts of Agile, story points, sprints, etc., but they forget about the concepts that make agility work: teamwork, establishing flow, evolutionary design, early and frequent feedback loops. So like I said, these are your words, and I'm making you guys aware. So, got a little exercise for you. So I'll give you 3 minutes to talk with each other, and then we'll just see a show of hands of anyone who wants to share. I want you to talk about amongst yourselves. So think about a great Scrum Master that you've worked with and how have they made a difference. And then secondly, I want you to think about, imagine if that person had been buried in admin tasks or not empowered to do that work. What impact would it have on your team? So just talk to the people next to you for, let's do 3 minutes, and then I'll see if anyone wants to share their thoughts. So talk amongst yourselves. And I use your clapper.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I've always wanted to have a go at this, because Royd always has it, and I've had a go at it. Yay! So, thank you for your conversation. It was great to hear the buzz in the room.
You normally need a special training course to use that.
Oh,
but
sorry, Royd. Thank you. I'll reply to Bettina for the next one. So, does anyone want to share their thoughts or things they've talked about with these questions? Don't be shy. Oh, energy. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Proactiveness.
Say that again, sorry?
Proactiveness.
Proactiveness, okay. Emily?
They make people feel heard.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
It's just the loop of loneliness that we just said. It creates more and feeds that cycle that we just said in the previous slides.
Okay.
And encouraged us to experiment
Yeah.
in our ways of working.
Brilliant. And any thoughts about what impact this would have if you didn't have this role within your team? Any thoughts?
Can you imagine the EMIS team without you?
Well,
Building the leadership vacuum that we didn't have. Building a team across from Chennai to Leeds. I've just turned up from operations. Any of these developers, like one relationships building teams and the length you went to is retros. Well, I mean, no one else does retros, but actual, okay, that's the fluff that people see.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, you're just making pictures and stuff. But
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Ollie. Thank you. Anyone else?
I mean, I'm old enough to know the first half of my career was all building things in a waterfall environment. And I nearly left software. It was just the most miserable experience. It's an activity which is about creating things and building things. And the prevailing sort of wisdom had managed to sort of wring the joy out of that. So, and I think there's a little bit, it's great that we've we've moved on enough that there's probably a lot of people in the industry now that might not have experienced that in its most miserable form. But nobody wants to go back to that, I can tell you.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you. So, I want to go back to the title around the Scrum Master can be lonely and isolating. So even though you're in a team, sometimes it can come down to you to champion those changes. Responsibilities are often watered down. And I quote from the survey again, interference in process. and senior stakeholders who are far removed from making the changes. Also, some more quotes. No real say in anything, too much red tape trying to get any change done, everything needing multiple confluence pages. No offence to Atlassian community group. Look, I've learnt. Written about them and signed off by multiple layers of management, even though they're not making the change themselves. It feels like Scrum Masters are very much in a delivery role, expected to be conduits of information in a larger machine and much less focused on the needs of the team and the individuals in the team. I don't feel that there is an agency for Scrum Masters to adopt ways of working, which should be reflective of the team's delivery context, Jira boards, which in my opinion should be reflective of ways of working and teams' needs. Feels like we have become meeting monkeys, not agents of support growth and change for the teams. And like I said, and it's not easy to read that as well, and reading it to you, by the way, it's upsetting with because you don't want anyone to feel like that in the role, like I mentioned. But I'm opening up an honest truth, and this is the whole point of this talk. So, as I said, delivery, it's important, but it's sometimes seen as a tick box and heavily focused on planning work, rather than focusing on the Agile mindset and empowering coaching teams and leadership. That's important. It also has to come bottom up and top down as well, and agility. Again, not trying to solve the problem, but I'm wanting to bring this open discussion and empower you guys to have a discussion with each other and realise you're not going through this alone. I got a bit happy with this animation, so excuse me. I was like, oh, look, yay. So in practice, a Scrum Master is a focus protector. We shield the team from unnecessary noise and keep them aligned with their sprint goals and sprint commitments. We're servant leaders. We lead through influence, not authority. We create space for the team to thrive and self-organise. We're a mirror. We reflect patterns, behaviours and blind spots, not to criticise, but bring awareness and choice. We're a systems thinker, so we look beyond the team to see what's influencing performance, like organisational structure, culture, metrics, leadership behaviours. We're a facilitator of change. We don't just run retros, even though they're great, and I love them. We help real change happen both in the team and across the organisation. And most importantly, we're a coach and a mentor. We help individuals and teams grow, not to just do Scrum better, but become more agile in mindset and behaviour. So, a quick show of hands, if yes, how many of you in the room can I confidently say that you do or are one or more of these elements? Show up your hands. Okay, that's good to see, that is good to see. There is hope, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Right, so I did promise you to go in a little bit in the survey, and if anyone wants to go, message me on LinkedIn, because I can go and send the survey results more so. It's all anonymous. So this was a pie chart. Love a good colourful pie chart of the different roles that actually answered the survey. So I did send it predominantly to Scrum Masters in the company I'm in and externally to the company I am in, but I still opened it up to other just Agile roles just to see the difference and who was answering it. I know some of you are going to say, but what, isn't that role or that role the same? Isn't that similar? But that's a conversation for another day, because we won't get into that now. But I just thought it was interesting to see the different types of roles who answered this survey. Predominantly Scrum Masters, which that was good to know. And then we had Agile delivery leads following, and then Senior Scrum Master. So, like I said, there might be some differences in opinions of these roles, but that's a conversation for another day. And the survey says, if anyone remembers that programme, the bit of big axe. So, first of all, this is a word cloud of current frustrations. So, and this is the actual survey responses that I got. So, I'm going to highlight some words. Obviously, there's a lot of filler words, which I did try and filter out, but change, support, delivery, agile, individuals, time, people, ways of working, red tape. So those are some elements, basically. And there's some, obviously, you can see some other items that I have mentioned in today's talk as well. about some frustrations, but I won't read them all to you now. But if you can see that, does anything that I said in terms of the frustrations resonate with any of you guys that you'd feel like you'd like to share?
Yeah, I would say definitely the delivery aspect seems to be moved to safe. It is very like, this is what safe says, this is what you're doing, and you're like forgetting some core elements like, you know, serving the team, and the mindset, the agile mindset. I felt like, yes, we were there to now facilitate the breakout sessions where we were doing our PI planning with the squad, and that's great. But 2 minutes, a week after the plan, that our PI planning then changes anyway, so it's a bit it's a bit frustrating. But yeah, I would say, you know, you can feel like that. It can be quite isolating, and then some days you're like, what am I doing? Like, it ebbs and flows. Yeah.
Okay, we'll go on to some happier thoughts as well. But thank you for sharing. And the survey says, but we've got some positives. So I want to end on a happy note. You know, it's not all doom and gloom. Like I said, I love this role. I love what we do. And this is what this shows, you know, we've got, again, engage, we solve problems. There is delivery still in there because it is an element of our role. Scrum, ideas, people, collaboration, working together, software improvements, teams, high, not in the other way, but, you know, maybe someone is high while they're looking at this survey. But I want to share some of my favourite elements of some of my favourite survey responses. Like I said, I can't read them all to you now. I'd love to. But here are 4. What truly fulfills me as a Scrum Master is watching individuals evolve into a high-performing team. When people who started as strangers begin to support each other, challenge ideas constructively and deliver value consistently, I know I've made an impact, and that my presence makes complexity easier, collaboration stronger, and people better connected, not just at work, but to each other in their personal lives as well. Using humour and analogies to make ideas land. When teams are engaged and love to experiment with different ways of working, and then coaching teams to become high performance and helping to spot patterns through data and behaviour. And that's a whole other conversation. I'd love to talk about like data, obviously, that's a powerful topic in itself. So again, does anything here resonate with anyone? Does anyone want to just share any pointers, anything that's resonated with them from the happy side of our role that we love? Anyone?
From my experience from my Scrum Masters, I've had 2, you're one of them. Careful where I'm going. I think it's great to see such a small part is the facilitation, and generally working in software, I think we work with a mixture of people, but generally at team level, quite introverted. And to be able to see kind of Scrum Masters come in and pull out the best out of them by facilitation, by asking the right questions, coaching, is absolutely amazing to see. And I think a lot of what's on there kind of sums that up, helping people working together, engaged, kind of really, really drills that home.
Yeah. Thank you, Anton. That was great. Thank you. That's well, I was going to say it's beautiful, but it is. It's beautiful, Anton. I love it. It is, thank you. Some top tips. So, open the conversation when you go back to your teams and Scrum Master community. Connect with Scrum Masters in your place of work and those externally, like today. Build the community of practices to challenge the status quo. Discuss the uncomfortable but valuable topics to make positive changes. Keep being people-focused. Spend time to mentor, coach those to see their potential and help get their sparkle back. Help people see the power of agility, the muscle, and Agile, the toolkit, and the power that brings. Stay curious, learn constantly, and trial and error things within your teams. It doesn't have to be by the book, like I said, if it works and make an impact. Inspect, adapt, keep being that cheerleader. Make small changes to your wider department, your organisation, not just within your team. Ripples will make waves, and that is how we change culture for the better. Evolve with the role. So invest in coaching and systems thinking, seeing the bigger picture. Don't just look at parts in isolation. Focus on how everything's connected. People, processes, tools, feedback loops, and how they interact over time think beyond Scrum mechanics. So, I have two pledge cards. Well, there's a mixture of them. Some are about keeping the conversation alive, and some are about a pledge to your Scrum Master. So, in the break or throughout the session, if you have some time, I'd be so appreciative if you guys can fill that out and keep the conversation going. And I will collect these at the end of the talk. So it's about a pledge to Scrum Master or a pledge to keep the conversation going. And yeah, I'll collect these at the end. So a little bit about, just if you want to contact me here. So I hope you've enjoyed this talk and empathised, but most importantly, felt heard and empowered, and continue this conversation to make the Scrum Master role a little less lonely. Thank you.